Okay, so let's call the select board meeting to order for Monday, October 11th at 7 o'clock or 7 something.
03.
7:02, thank you. Okay,
Plus or minus.
give or take. Do we have any addition removals or adjustments, Val?
I received information this afternoon from Sharon, a potential grant opportunity that we should add to the agenda under the item number 8, the COVID update,
Okay.
COVID-related grant opportunity.
Okay. So 8.1.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So this is Zoom, where everybody's muted. If you have a question, raise your hand or send us a chat, and we'll try and keep track of those. Public forum. Anybody who would like to say something that's less than 5 minutes and that's not currently on the agenda? Okay. Okay, special town meeting, public informational meeting for the Australian ballot vote on the proposed unified development regulations. So Val, we don't have, is there anybody for the PC that's going to talk about this or not? You're muted.
Not that I'm aware of.
So this is our zoning regulations that were updated, and they've named it the Bristol Unified Development Regulations. We have already had a meeting on this, 2 meetings actually, but August and September, is that correct, Val?
Correct.
Okay. So we have agreed to send this to our town voters to vote by Australian ballot. And that will be Tuesday, the November 3rd election, yep. Correct? And if you need a ballot, you need to call the town clerk and request the ballot, because this is separate from the presidential election, and they will mail it to you. Anything else to add to that, Val? No,
the only public comment that I received recently was from Cecil Foster, who expressed concerns about the Unified Development Regulations.
Okay, so where is he? I mean,
yeah.
What was this? Did he tell you what his concerns were?
Let's see. He feels it's important to have 2 different sets of eyes on this very important topic. He feels it's too much local control in one body. I'm skimming his email here. Then he goes on with comments about the town plan. Mm-hmm. And some of the changes made to the town plan land use wise, mm-hmm. of North Street. Did he talk to, has he talked to Katie or Chris or anybody? Didn't mention that.
From the message that he sent, it seemed like there was some confusion about I get confusion, I think, with him in terms of what the new regulations are. Mm. The way that his email read, it seems like the town is taking over and having more control, when in reality it's opening it up, because you're sort of taking responsibility away from the state, especially with Act 250, and putting it in the hands of a development review board. And we're still going to have the same sort of oversight and review process that we've had before. It just becomes a different thing. Mm-hmm. And part of his confusion may be because it's sort of late in the game and he's finding out about this. He hasn't attended meetings. He hasn't asked questions about it. So I'd recommend to him that, the materials are on the town website, and you can read through in terms of the changes made, and also watch videos from the Planning Commission and our past 2 select board meetings that we've had regarding this particular ballot, just to find out more information.
Yeah, and I would refer him to Katie or Chris if he's got real questions, that they can answer. Okay. Is there any other comments from anybody?
Well, I'd say that just in terms of for people joining who don't know about this, so it's in terms of the election cycle, we have ballots for national election were sent via the state. Because this is a local election, it's usually you would vote in person, which you can still do, but you won't get it sent to you automatically. So for this particular one, and it's just a single article that's a local vote for the town, you just need to request it through Sharon at the town offices, and you can do it by absentee. You can have the form sent to you, and it's a simple sort of approve or not approve, just with an X on your ballot, and then you send it back. Or you can go to the town offices and vote in person before voting day, or go on the day when the polls open at 7 a.m.
Ian, is this something that could be added to one of our social media posts or front porch forums so that
Yes.
better understood?
So I've done one set already in terms of the national, local election information as well as general election information. So I've done 2 of those on Front Porch Forum, and I'm going to do another round of that. It's also on our Facebook page as well, detailing what you'll need to do in the steps. And I'll continue to post those as we get closer, and I'll maybe do a couple times a week just to remind people, because it is something that sort of, especially now when you're receiving your absentee ballot in the mail, there's a little bit more, a few more steps you have to do versus going to the polls on the day and voting in person. So I want to make sure that people actually understand that and are able to return and have everything in the right order.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Ian. Anything else for that one? Okay, then I guess we'll close the meeting on the Unified Development Regulations. Regular business, continuation of the lister candidate interviews and potential appointments of 1 or more candidates to fill either of the 2 vacant lister positions. I would suggest we move to this to executive session only because Joel had some information, or he was going to get some information. So, and since he's not here, we might as well do it after he gets here. And I'm assuming, executive session, unless anybody disagrees.
That's fine with me.
Okay. All right. Clarification and a ratification of Acorn requests for AES 3 prospective stormwater permits expense from September 4th, 2020 decision.
Hi, this is Benjamin Marks. I don't want to beat a dead horse with this, but a little bit of a recap is in order. We met, I and you all met last month to discuss the proposal that Acorn had made for cost sharing. And it was the document that I sent to Valerie was consistent with the proposal that we had sent in that I think you all had as part of your information packet. But when I went to draft up the letter agreement from that proposal, I wasn't 100% sure that I'd covered the transition from Acorn bearing a part of the costs for the ongoing fees and so on, to the part where the town was going to bear all of the cost. And I was uneasy about sending a document like this to Valerie for her signature without having an explicit conversation about that, because I feel like we're going to be, Acorn and the town are going to be partners for a good long while in this, and it really doesn't make sense to not have an explicit conversation about every aspect of something like this. And so out of an abundance of caution, I made a phone call to Ian, who then directed me to Valerie. We sort of talked through it a little bit. And I thought it would make sense to just go over the cost transitions with the actual proposal in front of me so that I wouldn't omit anything, as I fear I did last time. We could cut all this short if everybody says, well, we've seen the proposal and it's fine with us. But I'm happy to recapitulate the one-page letter agreement that I drafted verbally for the benefit of those who don't have it in front of them. It's really up to you all.
And I think we've all seen the agreement, and I know, I remember the discussion about the cost splitting on our last meeting. The part I don't think we discussed was about the part where the town takes over 100% of the cost. I don't think we ever had a discussion of that. And that was probably just an oversight because it was in your initial proposal. We just did not discuss it.
Right. And it's, you can have a conversation where something doesn't come up and that means that everybody's fine with it. And if that's the case, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that we had a chance to talk about it. Well, I just want to make sure that everybody is understands what it is that's specifically being proposed. And my own level of discomfort at having not discussed it is wasting time tonight, we'll try to keep this as short as possible. But in an abundance of caution, I thought it made sense to have the conversation.
No, Val just put it up on the screen so we can see it.
Ben, I think the main thing is in terms of our understanding, we've agreed in terms of the cost sharing before the land is developed by the town, which is current proposal that we're working on in terms of the town buildings. So we spoke about that at length, and we have that down. When we hit number 3, if you can see the screen, it was the after the town starts to develop and taking over those costs. I went back to the video and I looked from a couple of weeks ago or before that when we had the meeting, and a lot of it was about that initial sort of setup and what's going to happen before that's all developed. And then we didn't really discuss that number 3 aspect. And so I just want to be, it seems like you're asking the town to sort of take over all the costs once we start development. And so that's the main discussion that I think we need to have.
Right. So let me just give you 30 seconds on Acorn's thought process here, which is that the actual amount of impervious surface that we're adding to this area is pretty small. And in fact, I think if we were scrapping for a fight with A&R, we might argue that in fact, it's not really impervious surface at all. Because from a technical point of view, the panels are going to act like umbrellas over the concrete ballasts. And so when it rains, what's going to happen is rain is going to fall on the panels and it's going to sheet off to the panel's lowest edge and drip onto the ground. So there isn't a drop of rain that's going to fall on this project that doesn't go right where it was going to go anyway in the absence of the project. But that's really a technical argument to have with A&R. And developers mostly don't have those arguments with the agency because what they're really focused on is wanting to get their project built and not necessarily try to back that train up a hill with an agency on its own rules. So the thought was that once you guys have been grandfathered in on the property as it is, and once you go to improve it or enlarge it, our percentage of impacted area is going to be even smaller than it is once our construction takes place. And so at that point, it would be fair for you guys to shoulder the burden of the permit fees for the whole project because our parcel, our impact on the parcel is going to be tiny. Anyway, that was our thinking, and that was why this went into the agreement the way it was. And the quid pro quo, if you will, is that we're paying the application fee and bearing the engineering costs up front for this, so that the town's going to have the permit. You're going to be the permittee, and so we'd pay more money up front to get things rolling. But once you guys decided to do your own improvements, you'd take over the costs from that point forward. So that's the proposal that we're making on the table.
I spoke with Joel before the meeting this afternoon, and on this topic, he was of the opinion at that time that the solar project should continue to share expenses going forward, even after development of the site. If I understood his comments correct.
Yeah. And I'll say I'm leaning that way. I have concerns about us taking over 100% because, and I don't know what A&R does with stormwater, but if there happens to be an issue that comes up and say it's on your 0.2 acre parcel, we're saying we're going to be 100% responsible for that. And I don't know that I want to put the town in that position.
Well, not responsible to deal with regulatory issues regarding the permit, responsible for the ongoing permit costs. So for instance, I mean, at the moment, what that is an annual $160 fee and a $240 renewal fee every 5 years. There may be some engineering costs associated with that. And I would just point out that if the project doesn't go forward and you guys do something to your town property there, you'll be bearing those fees anyway because the grandfathering will have ended once you start making improvements. And so that was really our thinking, is that we're jump-starting a process that you guys would have faced eventually anyway. I guess it's worth taking the sense of the rest of the select board on that.
I'm fine with the town doing the fees. It's just a fee. It's not in terms, not maintenance costs and things like that. It's just the fees for those particular things. And so I think it's good for us to do that. We would need to do it anyway. We're developing the town buildings, as he said, as Ben said. We're going to be paying this anyway, regardless of this project. And because they take up such a small portion of this large area that we'll be developing, I think the town should bear that responsibility, just in terms of these fees.
Darla?
I would agree. I mean, I have no problem in paying the annual fee of 160 and the renewal fee every 5 years of 240, as long as that is what we're being asked to do here. If there is additional cost for issues that might come up, then that's something that's very different. But if we're just talking about fees, I can see where the town can take that on. And as you said, if we start to develop those other pieces for town buildings, then we're on the hook for it anyway. So I'm fine with that.
Baker?
I would agree. I think that, once we apply for the permit, it's not gonna, the cost should be borne by us because it's our permit.
Okay, so let me ask a question. If we were to do the town garage project, does A&R only come in on the piece that the town garage is on, or do they include the whole parcel? Like, would they keep the solar piece separate as a different permit than the town garage?
It's my understanding that there is one permit for the parcel, so that it's really A&R doesn't break out different owners of different infrastructure on the parcel. It's just one permit for that whole parcel, and what they're doing is calculating the amount of impervious surface on that parcel as a percentage of the whole project area. Not project area, sorry, the whole parcel area.
That's my understanding as well. If it's one piece of property, it's on the whole piece of property. If we don't have separate deeds for the separate pieces, then it's just one permit.
Okay, so are you guys happy with the way that is written, or do you want an exception in there to say if there are additional fees or costs and we need to renegotiate?
I mean, it says fee costs and stormwater permit costs. It's not maintenance or construction of anything like that. I think it's specific enough.
Mm-hmm.
I work for an attorney. I know how people interpret this stuff. So
No, I know.
I just want to make sure we're clear.
I know. And if you feel that it needs to be tweaked a little bit to be very specific, then I think that's fine too.
I'm just saying, I want to make sure that we understand that this is what we're getting into. So anything additional that they come in and say is our fees or whatever, we're going to be responsible for 100%. And right now, that is the $240 renewal fee, the 100 every 5 years, the 160 annual fee, and then and any engineering certification costs that are going to come with that.
Michelle?
Oh, hey, Joel. Yeah.
Hi. I actually spoke a bit about this with on number 2, if you want to highlight number 2. is, my concern with that is every year after this proposal is that, okay, I'm going to try to make this somewhat simple, but I know I can't. So we'd have 85% and they'd have 14, correct?
Right.
My thought, as I told Valerie, is let's say we had 10 acres over there and 2 acres was solar panels. 5 acres was our town barn and our hard surfaces that were, what do they call that?
Impervious.
Surface that we'd have to get a permit for. And then we had 3 acres of just, you know, the bank that slants with the grass that we mow and the bank behind the rest of the acreage is just vegetation and not being used by either the solar or us, just holding the earth together. My point is that should be figured in as together both of us pay that fee. And not just the fee, not the acorns, just what they have for solar. And if it was that way, we pay just what we're having for impervious soil or surfaces. And then if we had a third left of surface that's not for anybody's use except just holding the earth together, I think we both ought to pay that equally, divide that by permit.
Well, the only thing with that, Joel, is that the permit is on the entire parcel. They don't separate out sections like that. So I don't think.
Well, they are in number 2. They are in number 2.
Yeah, but they're only parsing out based on, I mean, I see what you're saying, but they're only parsing out what they're using. I mean, they're not really using the rest of that.
Right. Those are Acorn's numbers that it's their determination of how much they're going to be using in that area. And I disagree, Joe. I think it's the town owned, it's our land. Acorn is not doing anything with that land. They are just putting solar panels in the section that they're talking about. And I think that's all they should pay for. I mean, they're also renting the land from us, so.
Well, I don't disagree with that statement, Ian, but my thought is we wouldn't even be in this thing if we didn't have Acorn in until we build a new garage. And then we wouldn't only pay we'd pay 100%, but it would be on what we have for impervious soil surfaces.
Yeah, but the payment is going to be the same whether it's on 3 acres or 10 acres, because that permit's on the entire property and it's based on the impervious surfaces.
Okay. Well, I respect both of your decisions, but I disagree with it. There's a third of this that neither one of us are using, but we ended up as the applicant paying for all the permitting fees from here until eternity. And I think that just that through their 30-year life or 25-year parcel should be part of it. The surface that neither one of us are using, just because it is our land, I think both of us should be helped paying for that.
They're not renting that property.
I know they're not renting that property, Peaker, but as I said, we wouldn't be in this if we didn't have this new applicant.
We would eventually, but.
Yeah, we would eventually.
Just not
I mean,
now.
right now we have a project in motion to redesign this whole area. And so within the next 2 years, we would be in this.
Well, this wouldn't trigger this might be our new town garage that triggered an Act 250 permit or an Act 250 or any kind of a permit from the state. And we would have continued just to go on as our merry way.
You mean if we did nothing?
Or if we
I
just,
mean, if we do anything with the town garage, we have to apply for a stormwater permit. I mean, any kind of construction or renovation, we have to apply.
we had to apply for one for the fire department.
Yeah.
And were we paying?
That's what that pond out back is.
Right.
Are we paying for a fee every year?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
And you're paying the engineer certificate to evaluate
I
the
know all
pond.
about
Is
these.
that correct, Peaker?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're getting at, Joel. I think it's the permit doesn't cover a specific area. It's the entire parcel. And so then it's internally, it seems like you're trying to parcel it out into the usable sections, which the permit doesn't care. The state doesn't look at it that way, unfortunately. So
That's what I
we're-
am trying to do.
Yeah, we're able, we can pay the whole thing. Acorn is we're able to split it with them, until we start to develop, which I think is great. We could, we'd have to pay the full cost anyway. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion
I'll make a motion.
to agree
accept-
to the agreement with the split until we do something, and 100% the town will take over once we,
Yes, I make a motion to accept the agreement as written. It seems like we're all in agreement with that, unless, Michelle, you feel that we need to change some of the wording. I felt it was fairly clear in terms of the fees. If we want to add more wording in, just to be super clear, we should do that as well. Or maybe we want to say that in the motion.
nope, that's fine. Somebody want a second? Okay, Darla seconded. Any more discussion?
Just so number 2 up there, Michelle, then
Yep,
won't be until 25 years from now after Acorn is packed up and gone or renewed it for another 25 years. They won't even pay 14.3%.
they will pay this number 2 will stay in effect until we do something which requires us to amend the stormwater permit.
So they won't even pay. So we're going to be in charge of everything after we build a new barn. Even
Right.
their 1.2 or whatever, or 0.2
Correct.
quarters of an acre.
Correct. That's what this agreement says.
So what if in 10 years they change the stormwater permitting cost? They'll go up. They always do. And they say, well, we want a holding pond or this or that. We're going to bear all that too.
Oh, well, once we get our amended permit, God, I hope they don't change it on us. I mean, they can't really change it on us unless we do something to
Well, it depends on
require
the
a permit.
acreage that you're putting in for.
What's that?
It also depends on the amount of surface that you have.
Right. So, I mean, I don't see that the solar is going to change anything in what they're doing. I mean, their footprint is their footprint from here until 25 years or 30 years or whatever it is. I mean,
Right,
the only footprint that might change is whatever we do for the town garage. That would require an amendment.
Right.
Right, the solar is a fixed thing. It sits there for 30 years, exactly the same. And unless we get a tremendous amount more rain, where suddenly the solar is enabling massive flooding as it pours off the panels, and we need to do something about that. It's going to have a minimal impact as solar, as they do in a lot of other town dumps.
For what it's worth, this is Ben again. Sorry, I don't have a camera on my computer. I think that the question of a huge increase in rain or other water-based damage is dealt with in the lease agreement. And if there is damage as a result of increased water flow and our panels, that's on us.
There you go. Great, Ben.
Okay, any more discussion?
I guess I know how the vote's going to turn out, but I would just like to see them pay their 14.3% of this annual fees. And it's their language, not mine.
Yep.
I'll agree to that. 14.3% of the surface. Why they still have their panels there.
Okay,
Agree to our
So-
5.7.
duly noted. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? So Tasha, I don't know if you saw Joel and I voted against, the other 3 voted for. Okay. Now next, coin drop application, Bedell Family EMS fundraiser, West Street near Post Office. So this is for the family of Tracy Bedell. And don't know if you all remember, that was the young boy that got killed in Starksboro. Trying to raise money to purchase new Lucas CPR devices for the Bristol Virgins Rescue Squad.
When do they want to do this?
Saturday, October 17th with a rain date of October 24th.
I'd just like to mention that we discussed this at great length at the fire department. We were supposed to have a coin drop this past weekend, and as the fire department felt that there was too much risk with COVID and everything, handling all the money and being in and out of car windows. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it. The fire department opted not to have their coin drop because of that.
So I have to, I
know
have to ask.
but there again, we approved it.
I have to ask Peter, I mean, for all the years that I've been on select board, and you, Joel, have been on this for a lot longer, how, I thought we didn't allow any coin drops unless it was EMS or the fire department.
We, 2 or 3 years ago, we put something in effect that allows for, I think, 3 coin drops a year. I think that's it. But I don't remember the exact wording.
Because, I mean, I have concerns. I mean, I have concerns about when you guys do it too, but if these guys are standing in the road and something happens to them, somebody gets hit, who's on the hook? Does it come back to the town?
Question.
I don't know. I know that they're supposed to follow all the guidelines with signage and everything. The post office is actually too close. I would say is too close to the traffic light, although the bank isn't that much further away.
Anybody else want to chime in on this?
I guess, Michelle,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to the Bedell family. Every time in the 35 years I've been in the department and we see a kid get killed or anybody get killed, you know, my heart goes out to them and bleeds. But those 2 children were killed in a moment's notice, and really it's a heartbreak for everyone. But I think I'm really nervous about going down this road, so to speak. And, you know, someone else, I've known a lot of families have been killed, and something happens and they want a coin drop. What have we started? I just did get off before I signed on with the president of the rescue squad and asked him a question. And he said, it's not sponsored by the rescue, but it is, they are using all of our traffic signs. And not that I said what I said earlier about opening the Pandora's box, but rescue didn't have theirs at the 4th of July because of no 4th of July parade. And so, you know, if they wanted to get together with Bristol Rescue and have this sponsored by Bristol Rescue, and they're using their first Bristol Rescue's coin drop, I could almost approve that. But going out on their own, I mean, it says right here, safety reflection vest and things like that. Are they going to have those? Where are they going to come from?
I have purchased the safety vests.
Hi, Mary.
We've also been told by the Bristol Police Department that they would allow us to use their vests.
Okay.
I have purchased a Lucas machine for Jen's rescue. The money from these proceeds would definitely go to the Bristol Rescue Squad for purchase of a new Lucas machine.
Thank you, Mary. And
You're
again,
welcome.
my heart goes out to you. To lose your son like that was a tragedy.
I'm just trying to give back to the community like he would. These machines run in the range of $15,000. I know that Bristol has purchased a refurbished machine, but I was hoping to get them a new one. Just trying to raise funds again in this COVID era is difficult.
Anybody else?
Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with the precautions you'd have to take in order to be in car windows?
I'm not. I don't think we need to get that close. I mean, holding out a bucket. I'll be willing to wear a mask. So with the volunteers that I have helping me, I mean, I will take any suggestions otherwise.
I don't want you to think that I'm not against this. I'm just worried about the current state we're in.
Mhm. And I would agree, Mary. Again, so sorry for your loss. I just wonder, our current circumstances, if I want you all to be safe. I want you all to be safe. And I worry about that. That's my hesitation here tonight.
Yeah, I think with this kind of thing, in terms of, you can be protected and the people collecting money can be protected and wear masks and wear gloves and things like that. Oftentimes, if people are in the car, if they're slowing down, they're not able to put on their masks. And so it's sort of it's more in terms of the safety for you. You have your mask in terms of for them, but for them, wearing it is going to be a harder thing to do. I also think that maybe, I don't know if you've explored sort of online, like the GoFundMe kind of situation and the other sort of online fundraising methods. They've proved successful for a number of different things sort of during this period. And that, if done right, could be more successful than just people stopping. I don't know if people would hesitate because of the situation we're in, and you wouldn't get as many people who would normally do it, let's say for the fire station drop, because of the situation that we're in now.
We did do the GoFundMe, Ian. That's how we raised the first 15,000 for the Virgin's rescue. I was just trying to get the Bristol community more engaged to get the funds for the Bristol Rescue Squad.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, guys, what's your thoughts?
Unfortunately, I think we need to find out what we pass for
What our policy is?
who's eligible to be able to do a coin drop. I know we did it, but I cannot tell you when we did it.
I've not find any written policies on the coin drop process, and this form appears to be adapted from a state form for use on state highways.
That's because it's 116 and 17 that comes through, and that
Right.
I think that's what we did. But I know we put a limit, but I don't know if we put criteria on who.
Beaker, I remember 8-10 years ago, the band or something from Mount Abe came in, and we said we denied them because we didn't want to start something that this town would have a coin drop about every weekend if we had every organization that wanted to have one. And that's why we've kind of limited it to the two EMS, so to speak, fire groups. Bristol Fire has been, I look back, they've been having theirs for well over 40 years now. They started in the early 70s. And Bristol Rescue, I don't know how long they have been. I know at least 15 or 20 years, and they're 5 months apart. So July 4th and October, Columbus Day weekend usually. So as I said again,
Yeah, well, I know,
Mary wanted.
I'm pretty sure we allowed for 3, but I don't know if we put any criteria on what it had to be, what kind of organization it had to be in order to do it.
I would, as I said earlier, if Mary wanted to, you have to turn around quickly to get, because this is an EMS device that she's getting for them, and I think that's great. That if she worked with Bristol Rescue, because they haven't had theirs yet, because they canceled theirs, I wouldn't be opposed to that. They run it through Bristol Rescue, because they're getting Bristol Rescue signs, and it says here and everything else. And I know Mary was a past member years ago of Bristol Rescue. So
I wonder if we should.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Go ahead, Darla.
I'd like to see or hear a recommendation maybe from the Department of Health, how they would see something like this handled and what their recommendation for safety might be. And that could be done.
We actually, Brett actually reached out to the Department of Health and because of the apple orchard incident, he wasn't able to get an answer. Everybody was pretty tied up with that. And I don't know if has an answer on that at this point or not. Or if because we canceled the coin drop, he didn't bother to follow through on it, which I wouldn't see why he would.
Darla, to that question, I did check because our local fire department, as Peter said, canceled theirs. But 2 or 3 weeks ago, I checked with National Bank of Middlebury, who I work for, because Mark asked me to check that in. And what they were going to do for COVID-19 was all the money was going to go into a 5-gallon pail and it was going to be locked in the safe for 3 weeks and not be touched or counted.
And that was the
pail was gonna be
recommendation
covered
from
and
the
sealed and not be counted or touched for 3 weeks. If there was any disease or any virus in that, it would have been dead by then in 3 weeks. Then the money would have been taken out and counted by the bank officials.
And that was the recommendation from the health department, Joel?
No, that was our bank agreed to count the money, but you have to sit in the
I
pail
see.
covered for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Bill, go ahead. Just unmute yourself.
Mary, I'm Bill Elwell with the fire department, also the pastor at the Federated Church, and certainly heart goes out to you in being involved up there on that night. Again, certainly don't want to go down this road during the meeting, but willing to follow up with you afterwards. Certainly might be a way to do a kind of like a takeout dinner that some organizations are doing really well with, and certainly at the church and with some others in the community and folks that you already have volunteering, maybe that would be a safer alternative given the whole COVID thing. But I'll just throw that out there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, I mean, I remember the time that I've been at, I think we had one other application, and I don't remember who it was, for a coin drop. And if I recall right, we denied them because they weren't EMS and fire. I don't remember, Peter, changing policy or being a policy. So that must have happened prior to me getting on the board. But I'm pretty sure we had one and we denied them. And doesn't Bristol Rescue usually do 2 a year?
No.
You do theirs 4th of July morning, 8 to 10, just before the parade starts.
For some reason, I thought last year they had 2 of them.
2 locations, 2 or 3.
No, I thought they had two actual events for some reason.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The application form identifies a nonprofit organization or a municipal organization.
Hey, boys and girls.
I would be willing to follow up with the, to call the health department and get a recommendation.
You want Mary to do that? Is that what you're saying? Or you want us to do that?
I would be willing to do that, and I could communicate with the board and Mary, and it would be an email if that's.
Is that all right with everybody else? I mean, but we still got to know, is everybody on board with them doing it based on what Department of Health says?
I'm okay with them doing it based on what the Department of Health says, provided that Bristol Rescue sponsors or co-sponsors. I agree with Joel. I would feel more comfortable that way.
And then maybe expense that Mary doesn't have to bore is their traffic vest and their cones and stuff like
Well,
that.
she's already bought them. That is gonna matter.
Well, that's true. Sorry.
Mary, is that a deal breaker for you?
It is not. I was just trying to do it before it got too cold.
And the proposed date is October 17th, and the select board does not meet again until the 26th.
I wouldn't have a problem approving it, provided that, for the 17th, provided that the rescue squad was on board.
So is that a motion and the Department of Health gives us an okay?
I can make that motion pending the health department and Bristol Rescue being on board, that
Or
we allow them to
co-sponsoring.
have,
Okay.
we allow them to have a coin drop on the 17th.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I had a question. Mary, given the success of the GoFundMe, will you be doing one of those again for the Bristol community?
The GoFundMe is up through the end of the year, so
Oh, okay.
it does include the Bristol community.
Okay.
I went ahead and purchased for Jen's because Bristol had informed me they had already purchased a refurbished machine, but I'd like to get them a new one so that it has a warranty, etc.
Okay, so people can still donate to the GoFundMe
Yes.
for that. Okay, great.
Mary, if you can, I would get it on Front Porch Forum so people can see it. Because I don't know that I've seen, I mean, I usually read Front Porch Forum and I don't think I've seen it on there, but you can get it on there. People
Yes.
know about it.
As soon as the Lucas machine comes, we will be doing a press conference to let the community know also.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Cool.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
My
Okay.
condolences again.
Thank you.
Next, Town Green and Gazebo use request for Bristol Federated Church Christmas Eve services, December 24th, 2020, 6 to 8 p.m. I'm repeating.
I have a question. Why is this before us? I thought the recreation department handles this. I asked about this last time.
The
Is it
number
just
of people.
Okay,
Technically it can be approved by the town administrator, but since this is still somewhat flexible territory, and this is a Christmas Eve occasion, I don't know what other, if there's any, how this would, maybe it's a first come, first serve arrangement, but if other organizations had also planned to do Christmas Eve events, just thought I took the initiative to well, actually, Meredith suggested that it come before the select board, and I get the select board's input.
okay. I think, yeah, the first come, first serve, I mean, that's generally how it works anyway regarding something that we wouldn't look at or need to give approval for, right, through Meredith. It would just be, if someone's already there, you're not, double booking that.
Yeah, it works the same way with band concert. You have to reserve your Wednesday night way ahead of time in order to get there, and that's first come, first serve. So I don't see why this would be any different.
Hey, Bill, are you guys, I mean, in the past, I know that you guys work together with the Catholic Church as well. Are you guys doing that, or is this on your own this year?
So we've certainly have never come into this territory of doing something outside on Christmas Eve. But because our service really is 85 to 90% attended by folks in the community that really appreciate that time, we didn't want to have to cancel it and so thought the outdoor piece puts us in a safer place. We've got 8 to 6 down there, or 6 to 8 down there. What we are going to do, I'm going to reach out to Father Avon and to Pastor Todd Goodyear just to let them know that we're doing it, to see how their times line up with that. And certainly if they want to join us, we welcome it. That would certainly be a part of it too. But just wanted to get the ball rolling so that if there was going to be any things that needed to be worked out, we could get it done on this end first.
And that
I know
actually
each year.
reinforces why this is before the select board, because if other organizations collaborate and the number of attendees increases as a result of those combined efforts, then this would have ended up before the select board because of the number of people.
Yeah, I mean, we're basing our numbers, again, it's community wide. It's never been done because it's already, again, it's community wide. We don't have to collaborate officially with anybody. So, but nobody knows how many, we'll be dealing with folks that come as they come.
I think it's fine as long as, we're obviously a little ways off from that, as long as state health guidelines are followed.
Absolutely.
I'm sure the mask mandate will still be in place, and then obviously we'll have whatever number has been decided on at that time. We'll just need to follow that.
Yeah, no, that's what we figured. We just figured that's the That's the best shot for the maximum number to benefit the community.
Nice.
Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Okay, somebody want to make a motion? Well, do we need a motion or just a general consensus? We need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the
Okay, somebody in a
application.
second?
Second.
Okay, Jolie seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carried. You got it, Bill.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Bill.
You too, good night.
Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Okay, next.
don't have
Water Commission,
to
continuation
leave.
request for authorization for VTUMs to repair the water meter pit at KTP.
Gone so soon.
You skipped one, Michelle.
I did?
No,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, water, I did. Water Commissioner, still Water Commission. Consider request from Addison County Community Trust for KTP Trailer Park to become a consecutive water system.
hopefully
Okay.
folks got a chance to review my notes in my report.
I did read it.
It did. This was from 2018, started the conversation, right, Valerie? It said from an email. It went to
A
spam.
couple years ago that they asked.
I think that was before well, I guess from their email, yes, I guess the conversation began then, and that was before Woodland Apartments. And so before we really had a handle on what the process needed to be.
So what does this mean to us? Yes,
It
that's
means we take on more responsibility, more costs than they get out of it. And to me, that's how I read it. I mean, we're taking on having to test the water, provide the documentation and
well. Don't we do that now?
information to
Test
each
the
of the
water.
tenants, right? And I was like,
In their draft, they proposed that the town or the water district would distribute the community or the consumer confidence reports. But
right.
very similar to an apartment building, the town does not track of tenant comings and contact information.
That's my question is, we have this arrangement with Woodlands. What's that look like?
We don't do the public good stuff. They distribute that to all their tenants.
Correct.
We just do the testing.
Right.
So I wouldn't be opposed to doing the same thing. I don't think we should do anything different. I mean, we'd be setting a precedent, then Woodlands would want us to take over the other portion of theirs, I would think. I would, if I was a consecutive water system and you made different arrangements for somebody else, I'd want the same treatment.
So let me ask this, what benefit is this to the town? I mean, I see no benefit. I mean, the reason we did Woodlands was a couple reasons, but the biggest one was to get rid of the watershed area.
Right.
And
That
get
was the
water
biggest
customers.
reason we did that.
We gave
Yeah.
a number of new water customers too.
Right.
But over at KTP, I won't say our obligation, but after the master meter, which is coming up next, they repair everything west of that master meter and take care of all 40 plus trailers for leaks and stuff, correct? Because that was the big difference. There was so many leaks between the master. They're billing for their own water, right? Or it's in part of their rent. I don't know. But as Peter said, I don't see where the benefit is here. I don't want to do anything different than we've done with Woodlands or anybody else.
I personally don't think we should do anything. I mean, I just don't see any benefit to doing this for them, to the town, other than it's creating more work and more expense for us.
So
And
speaking
for
of,
our water taxpayers, for our people who are in the water department.
given the expense or these changes, if we did an arrangement similar to Woodland, what's the additional expense for the town a year? Do we have any numbers on that?
Well, the water operator would have to update the sampling plans, which takes some time, and that would have to get state approval. Then they'd have to add those sampling sites to their workload, which might require, I think their current contract anticipates a certain number of test sites, so that might need to be revisited. And then the testing themselves costs money per test every time that the tests are done. So when you increase the number of test sites, there's an increase in that per test cost. And then if there are hits as a result of water quality issues on their side that affects the outcome of the tests, then there's an additional effort on the part of the water operator to deal with those test results.
I mean, KTP is still going to be responsible for maintenance beyond that, you know, anything in the development.
Right.
So are they asking for this to essentially to save on those costs and have the town take over that? Is that the main reason?
Presumably.
Okay.
I don't see a benefit to the town here. It doesn't, yeah.
Go
it
ahead,
doesn't-
Joel.
Valerie, this question might maybe for you, maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. Let's say the house across the road is fairly new, built in the 90s here from that meter pit, had all copper pipes, and it tested fine. One of the tests, say that was one of the test sites, and then one of the test sites is the last oldest trailer in the park, and going through all the old stuff in the park, maybe it tested for lead. God forbid, I hope it doesn't. But if it did, who bears that cost? Of they come back and said your water's got lead in it, and did it water have lead in it, or the pipe they went through have the lead in it that they created the test? I guess
Well, the town/water district would be responsible for the testing costs and the repeat testing costs. Any particular repairs or remediation would be on the owner's side, the trust's side. But if there are board
So,
notices or anything else, the district would be responsible for notification to all of the folks in case there are certain water quality concerns that need to be dealt with.
So when
I
he,
believe,
go ahead, Peter.
I believe that all the water lines in KTP were replaced. I think Parker Excavating did that, I don't know, 6-8 years ago. They put all new water services in. So they should be, I believe everything in there now is copper.
right. I mean, I was just giving an example, Peter. I didn't mean that they had lead over there, and I don't believe they do either.
No, but you gave the example of a new copper line 10 years ago. And what I'm saying is that the lines in there are supposedly all copper.
But if one of the sample sites was the last trailer in the park, the oldest one, let's say, that becomes a sample site for a while, and that becomes to come up, what is the town's obligation versus the other 5 if there's 5, let's say there's 5 sample sites and the other 4 tested fine, where does the liability come?
That's a question I was going to ask, Val. Do you know how many sample sites or test sample sites we need in there? They don't just test it at the meter pit. They've got
No.
to test. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't see why we should do this.
I believe
don't see
in apartments, they have like a boiler room location. It's kind of a centralized distribution area, and that's where the test is done
Where's that, Matt, Valerie?
at Woodland Apartments.
Oh, Woodlands, yes. I know I remember one of the sites used to be the boiler room at Mount Abraham. That faucet in there, Scott Powell used to come in and get a water sample there. Whether that's still one of those sites, I don't know.
I just think all it's going to do is create more work and more expense.
Is this something we have to do, or are they just asking us?
They're just asking.
Asking.
And I agree with Darla and Michelle. I don't see any benefit to us.
So somebody want to make a motion to approve and second, and we'll discuss and then vote.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor of taking on the trailer park as a
An exempt.
executive water system? Say aye.
Wait a minute, hold on. So, let's be straight here. We have them as a customer through one master meter that feeds the 40 plus trailers.
Right.
Billed to the trust. So I just want to make sure this, but they want to go further, as in have samples done. And we do sample.
They want us to take over their responsibility of testing and notifying their clientele that they've been tested.
Okay. Yeah, no, yes.
Okay, so anybody in favor, or all those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, motion denied. Okay, now let's go on to the one I tried to jump on. Water Commission, continuation of request for authorization for feed tons to repair the water meter pit at KTP.
The updated information is that the projected cost or estimated cost would be about the same as what they originally anticipated.
Yes. Speaker, at the last meeting, you asked me to look into this, and so the next morning I called VTUMS, and then I went up to see Peaker. Jill and I and Cy met over there. Then I went up to see Peaker, and then Peaker came back at noon. We had a noon meeting over there, and pulled the cover off, looked down in. There was water in the pit still. He showed us pictures with. That's why the meter has to be changed, because it's about $1,000 and it's destroyed and didn't get read last time correctly. It doesn't read correctly anymore. And Peaker has got I believe a 6-inch or 10-inch riser or 12-inch riser. He's going to find up in the pit there. They're going to dig around it, seal as best they can.
Cy was going to pick one up.
Or Cy was going to pick one up, drill some holes in the base of that cement structure that's in the ground, so any water that does get in there will go back out, and then raise it above the level. Right now, it's more of a drain than it is anything else, so low. They're going to raise it 12 inches and then put the cover back on. Am I correct in saying that, Peter? That's what we agreed to. And I asked them for a new cost to send that to Valerie.
So is this coming out of the
Yeah, it
budget, or is
doesn't-
this coming out of the capital plan?
Budget.
Thanks, Jen. Okay. So any more discussion?
I mean, as you'll see in the notes there, the meter pit, the meter for that is almost half of what this job's going to cost, $1,000. Like, see, that was already been bought, right, Jennifer?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
I make a recommendation that we give VTUMS the permission to do this before winter sets in.
Somebody second?
Second.
Soon. Let's put soon on the end of that, Tasha.
ASAP. Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your
Yeah,
hand.
just like Joel was saying, the issue is that the cover is lower than the road, and all the water's running off the road and going right in there, right into the pit, and the pit doesn't drain. So we're going to raise it so the water doesn't go in, and perforate the bottom so that if a small amount of water does get in there, it can go out through the gravel.
Perfect. So you in favor of this motion?
Yes.
I just didn't get you and Peaker. So any opposed? Okay, motion carried. COVID-19 update, preparations, response, and
Second
impacts
that.
to municipal. What was that, Asha?
Second that real quick.
Ian did.
You know,
Also, you missed one, Michelle.
I keep checking them off before I get.
This is going to be a quick meeting.
I know, I'm trying to push this.
It will be quick.
Acknowledge receipt of the proposed Bristol Town Plan update and transmittal form from the Planning Commission.
Yeah, so this is just to acknowledge that the select board, or not that, but the planning commission did vote at their meeting on Tuesday to forward the proposed town plan amendments to the select board. The public hearing notice that the select board needs to post has been published for November 9th. So that'll be the first of 2 public hearings that the select board would be hosting on this proposed town plan.
And they're gonna vote on this in March, correct?
That's the plan.
Okay.
Are those hearings part of our select board meetings the same night?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Anybody have any questions or discussion? The town plan is online, so take time to look over. It's over 100 some odd pages.
Oh, I got that many right here. Valerie had.
Oh, I wasn't printing it off.
Well, if anybody wants a printed copy, let us know and we'll make one available.
Yeah. It's just as easy to look at it online for me.
Is this something where we're going to have the members of the planning commission present it to us before the public hearing? Or is it just going to be just with the public hearings?
Like we did before with the
Okay.
by
The
development.
same way with the zoning regs, the unified regs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Did she-
the reason I asked is that I guess because of the first public hearing we had, I don't think anyone presented information to us. I think it was the second one that Katie was there, right? There was
No,
one
I
that.
think the
You know,
first one was
both.
more robust.
Sorry, say that again, Val.
The first one was more robust in terms of the presentation with Adam Luigi and others,
Okay.
more information.
Okay. I guess maybe my confusion is that it was on our agenda and we were discussing it and sort of looking through it, but then that must have been before the public meetings about it. And I guess it was, I remember feeling at that point like it would be nice to have the discussion, not just us talking about it, but someone from the planning commission and then the public hearing. Not that I want them to do it again and again. It was just, it seemed like it was on our agenda to discuss, and then I just wanted more information about it, but I just had to wait until the next meeting. I mean, I read it too, but it was at that point. So for this particular thing, are we going to do that again where we will discuss it and then have the 2 public forums, or no?
Well, no, my guess, Ian, my thought is that Val sent it to us. We have the link for it. So if there's any questions, then we can ask either at that meeting or ask Katie or somebody ahead of time. But my guess is Katie or somebody's going to be at the November 9th meeting to present.
Okay, so everything's going to sort of work towards that in terms of our questions and things like that.
Right.
Okay.
Unless, if I'm hearing you, Ian, if you're asking at the October 26th meeting, if there's going to be an agenda item for discussion of the town plan before the hearing on the 9th.
Yes, because that's what happened with, I think, with the Unified Development Regulations, right? I think it was on discussion before a public hearing.
I don't remember that, but
No,
I might be wrong.
Val, I think the first hearing, Ian, was supposed to be the public hearing, but because our notice didn't get right, we wound up having 2 hearings.
Oh,
which we didn't normally.
okay.
Which
That's-
we would not
that's what it
normally
was.
needed.
Okay.
So, Joel, go ahead.
Keep saying November 9th. I thought we were voting at the general election on November 3rd. No?
That's the
This is-
Unified
this-
Development Regulations.
Oh, just unified we're voting on.
Correct.
Right.
What we're having a hearing on the 9th is going to be voted on in March.
March.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the town plan.
Town plan. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Have they got something so that we don't have to read through the whole document to know what the major changes are, or
It's
do
in
we
the
have to
transmittal
try to
memo.
figure this out on our own?
It's in the transmittal memo.
No, Peter,
Okay.
you have to read
That's
the
right.
whole thing.
We're not going to send that to you.
Yeah.
You have to highlight and then show us that you've read it.
We're going to send it to you on your phone, Peter, so you can read it on your phone.
Yeah,
Take you 4 or 5 days, probably.
Okay.
take me a
Hey.
month. I won't be ready for the 9th.
I got a half a ream of paper here Valerie sent to me. Thank you, Val.
Okay. Do we need anything else on that, Val?
No,
No, okay.
My laptop, my nooks look better and better every year, don't they? Buying nooks for the board or whatever.
Okay.
Tablets.
Can I move on to the COVID update now?
Please
Why don't you
do.
go? Why don't you go?
I welcome the COVID update.
Okay. COVID update. So town offices have been open Monday and Wednesdays from 8 to 12, and that's going well.
yes. In fact, I sent information out this afternoon that we'd like to consider opening the offices a little longer on Monday and Wednesday from 8 to 2:30 while we have Gail's assistance till 2:30. Then also adding Thursday from 12.
From 12 until when? Or from 8 until 12?
On Thursday from 8 in the morning till 12 noon.
Okay.
All other situations would remain the same.
We'd be open Monday and Wednesdays till 8 to 2:30
And Thursday,
8 to 12.
still closed Tuesdays and Fridays.
right. And again, just to recap, part of the rationale for what we call the soft opening is because being open does bring with it a higher level of sanitation and time spent doing that. But at the same time, being open to the public has the benefit where it's a more efficient operation where when the folks can deal with people directly rather than over the phone and through the door and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
My only thought, was there any thought given, Jennifer, more for you, see you're on, is a Thursday, maybe Friday. So you're open Monday till 2:30. If you don't get cleaned up, you can always do it Tuesday morning because you're closed all day Tuesday. Then you're open again Wednesday till 2:30. If you don't get it cleaned up, you got to redo it before 8 o'clock Thursday morning. Is there any reason to move the Thursday maybe to Friday? And then every other day you have a few hours in the morning that you're not open to the public being rushed. You could wait.
Well, we're only open till 2:30, so that gives us plenty of time to
Even
get
with Gail leaving at 2:30.
Yeah, but there's still, I mean, there's not necessarily somebody in the office at 2:30 when the door's shut. You know,
I was
so-
only trying to give you a little time after.
No, I
next
I
day
appreciate
you can
that.
wait down.
I mean, I think it's trial and error at this point and trying to figure out at some point how we're going to be able to do it for as many days as we can be open. It's starting to get busier with taxes and voting. So as Valerie said, it's definitely more efficient to have people be able to come in to do things, get receipts, which is what they really want for tax season, rather than them pounding on the door. I really want this stamp paid. And you having to go inside, stamp it paid, walk back outside, give them the receipt back. And then by the time you sit down again, somebody else has knocked on the door. So it's just the efficiency of letting kind of some quick through, in and out traffic come in and get their business done.
Everybody good with that?
Terrific, thank you.
Mhm.
Two other things. One is that grant authorization that Sharon forwarded to us this afternoon to authorize her to apply to, let's see, what's it called here? Minimum grant award would be $5,000. They're proposing to apply for a laptop to assist with the election process. The application deadline is Wednesday, and no match is required.
Any questions on that one?
Can we have a little bit more detail about what the laptop will be used for? I mean, is it something that's obviously needed?
Jen, can you respond?
Yeah, Sharon and I were chatting today. So it's super helpful when you're doing elections to have something to use, in the sense of if somebody comes in and says, I'm positive I'm registered, something's not right, Sharon can get right into that online portal that's the town side and just kind of see, and you can say to somebody, well, actually you're registered in Starksboro, or, be able to give some good solid information to voters as they're there. Plus having internet access there, I think, with a device. I mean, the rec department's there, but we really don't use the rec department. So her being able to be there with a device, I think is important. And if she took the laptop from downstairs that we currently have, we wouldn't be able to have researchers come in and do research on that day, because that's what they use as their station. So we really don't have a dedicated portable device to bring to the election, because This year is just different because we've been doing it downstairs, but more standard is it's upstairs.
Okay, that sounds good. I guess my only thing would be, getting a machine that's similar to what we already have, that we're already using, just in terms of, not as complicated to use, or not as difficult to sort of use. And then also think about the potential, since it's only used, this specific use is just for a one day event, what the machine could be used for the rest of the year.
Well, the other thing we're going to need to think about budgeting purposes is that's one more computer we're going to have to add to our maintenance, and probably Office 365 too, right, Jen?
No, nope.
No, you won't need it for that.
That 365 is accessible through the internet. So if Sharon wanted to get onto her email, she could just as long as she can access the internet, she can get on.
Okay.
So the use for it would definitely be pretty minimal, but it would also be nice, in the event that, she had to be away from the office, as she's had this week, she would have been able to take that laptop with her and complete some things on the road, which she wasn't able to do. So, while she was away last week. So I think there's just plenty of advantages for it for the busy years, more so than the not busy years. I mean, I know a not busy year is coming, but we're getting through the busy year at this point.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I hope you're successful.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Somebody second? Jolie seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Great, thank you. One other thing I'd like to bring up under this topic is a question a citizen asked about, is the town doing anything about Halloween of restrictions or saying Halloween's off? Is the select board thinking about doing anything like that? That was a question.
Are we restricting anything for Halloween?
That was a question posed to me. If the select board's going to be doing anything about, let's see, is the select board going to make a recommendation on Halloween? Because apparently there's some back and forth on Front Porch Forum about whether Halloween would be on or off. And I don't know that the select board has a role to play in that particular outcome.
I would recommend that people follow CDC guidelines. And leave it at that. I mean, I don't know how, we can't control who goes door to door.
Right.
Or who chooses to put out candy, hand out candy or whatever. But I mean, I know they used to do they had done the trunk or treat on the park, and my guess is they're not going to do that this year. But
no, I think because Bristol is an active Halloween town, it seems like people feel it's under our purview, but it's really not. I mean, we have the rec department has events, and obviously Meredith has sort of adapted to this year and has changed up what they're doing, and they're doing pumpkins in the park, so it's a good distance doing pumpkin carving, but they're not doing their normal event at Holly Hall, things like that. So I think announcements through the rec department, just in terms of what that group is doing, but for everything else, it's all resident initiated, really. And we have no say over that.
Yeah. Last week in the governor's press conference, Dr. Levine said that he saw no reason people couldn't participate in Halloween as long as they practiced safe distancing. So I don't see why we would make a different rule here.
yeah, me either.
I think we'll probably see far fewer people on the streets this year, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Less candy to hand out.
That's right.
And they're going to sell out of the tubes so people can drop it in the tube and dump it in the bucket instead of the plexiglass.
We're the stick with the gloved hand.
Jennifer, I got some of that tube if anybody wants some left over from putting up drive-up tubes.
You better talk to my father.
Come right over. I've got some.
Good.
Got it in 4-foot lengths. You can have a piece.
Anything else, Val, under that one, or can I move on?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Paving and sidewalk project updates.
So I'm happy to report that the Main Street project is closing in on being finished. We're planning on having a preliminary site walkthrough next week to see a punch list walkthrough next week to see what.
Boy, can I add to your punch list?
Sure.
Okay, so here's what I'm not impressed with. The standing water in front of Allen's, in front of the park. I mean, are they done with Champlain Farms?
No,
They're not, okay.
no, they still have a lot of work. And we, at our meeting on Thursday, I brought up all of your concerns. And I've also sent them all the photos that I sent you.
Yeah.
So yeah, they know.
Okay, so I have to ask, the lines that they painted, the parking spots, why are there dotted lines in the middle of the parking spots? And why are there parking spots in front of the park that aren't painted? They've got dotted lines, but not painted.
Well, you've answered your own question there, because with your first thing is that they haven't painted the lines because they're going to fix the water. So they're going to do some magic and repave. That's why they haven't finally painted those.
Yeah, right, okay.
And in turn, well, that's what they say.
We'll
and,
see.
And in terms of the dotted lines, I assume you're speaking down Main Street.
Right.
So they originally, when they drew the lines out, temporary lines, they made a mistake, which I brought to their attention. We specifically asked to have lines in line with the lampposts. So when you pull in with your car, the bumper is the furthest away from the lamppost to help save them. And I brought this up at their meeting, and they said, well, I think we can move it, I'm not sure if we can do that. And then the next time I checked, they actually painted the final lines, and they were able to shift it all. So the smaller dotted lines will wear over time.
Right.
But that's the reason why you're seeing that. And so they actually lined it up. So the lampposts are as safe as they can be, unless you have a giant truck.
So then my other question is, when they did the crosswalks, they painted the crosswalks, there's so much overspray because I'm assuming it was windy. So, my concern is this is not going to last long. It's going to be like going down River Road. If anybody's been down River Road lately, and it looks like,
It's Mary.
Well, the wind must have been blowing them at 90 miles an hour when they
Too much
painted
air
those
pressure.
lines, because they're about disappeared now.
Michelle, has nothing to do with the wind. It was too much air
It's not
pressure.
going to last that long.
Michelle, had nothing to do with the wind. It's too much air pressure added to the hose, and it blows it out. That was overspray or mist, not wind.
Overspray or mist, boy. Whoever did that.
Yeah, there's a
one, they
lot
ought
of
to
it.
fire
I
'em.
drive it every day. Trust me.
They ought to fire 'em.
Error, what you're saying, Joel? User error?
It was using the air mixture was different, and it was overspray.
So more than likely it'll wear. I remember when the intersection was first put in, they carved down into the road for the crosswalk. They didn't do that this time, or they didn't redo that. They just painted. So I guess it falls under us when it wears in 2 years or whatever, or a year. I mean, don't we paint every year anyway?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yes, like.
So the other question I have is the little gully below Hatch 31. That, where they pave it and you have the storm water that was up high. I haven't checked it lately. Have they paved that again so that it's almost level?
They're going to. It's on their list. They have swales either side that they need to fix. They're getting there. It's every once in a while, I walk every day and I see like, oh, look, they've done another 30 feet. Hooray. And I don't know the rhyme or reason how they decide what to do at what time. They have been focusing on driveways. I think they're almost done with East Street. And they're almost at the end of that. And then most of them are on West Street are completed as well. And so it's just sort of large sections in front of Champlain Farms, in front of the post office, the fix over the other side. So they still have quite a bit of asphalt work to do.
Well, aren't they supposed to be putting in gravel along the edges of the pavement too in areas so that you don't have that drop off?
I don't know the specifics on that. Do you know, Val?
I don't, but that makes sense outside of the village area.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. That's all my complaints.
We are aware of all of those complaints, and we will be bringing them up. They're on our list, believe me.
And
What are they doing about Alan's house?
Same thing. They need to either fill it if they haven't done already, or they'll be repairing it, right?
Okay.
Well, it turns out that there was a layer of pavement under the grass
Oh, right.
that was preventing the water from penetrating. So they're digging out, if they haven't already, they're going to dig out that pavement and trench, reinforce that trench to the culvert.
So they're not going to repave it though, are they?
No grass.
Okay. Joel, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, Ian, I had a few of the bank customers ask me, and I just don't remember, and I thought you said you took pictures before this whole project started. Didn't we have a set of truncated domes for the Shaw's entrance?
No.
Off on West Street?
No, they were never there.
And they're not required?
Well, I don't know that the answer to that question. I know that they weren't there when they dug up the sidewalk. It was on both sides, both the small street between the Rockwood block and the blank block. There wasn't one there, and there wasn't one on the other side either. And it might be
So
something.
you're talking about the alleyway, not
No,
the
not the alleyway
driveway
that's
into Shaw's.
No, the entrance to Shaw's, not the alleyway that's presently
Blocked off.
It's probably something to do with it being a private road or something like
Right.
that.
And
I think that's why. Yeah.
I think that was what they gave you for the alleyway, why it wasn't required there was because it was a private roadway.
Correct. It would be nice to have them there because they have them on other areas, but I think because it's a private road, I think it's the state looks at it as a bigger headache to sort of do that.
I thought there was one between Cubbers and to the corner.
I was just gonna say, there is one if you're
Right.
walking down towards Cubbers from the office on that little
There's one
path
either
there,
side of
right
Cubbers
there.
entrance. So that gives me no warm feeling in my heart it's just because it's a private driveway, because that's the same private driveway in the
Right.
proposed development.
To me, it seems like, when they're looking at the project, they're looking at what's there and they're going to replace what's there, as opposed to adding more things. I think we got lucky in terms of some of the things that we asked for, like the crosswalk by the bank. They were actually able to incorporate, and we were very pleased with that. But yeah, some of those other things I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we'd have to look at another time if and when stuff is repaved. It would be nice to have those kind of things consistent throughout the downtown.
But if the bank was paying for that, shouldn't they get a say in that? Since they're paying for that stretch of sidewalk?
They would have had to have brought it up when that was happening. But yes, they did pay for that section, but it was something that was never discussed prior to Jill bringing it up right now. Not that I remember.
Right. And I stayed out of that, Jennifer. I stayed out of that because I'm.
Was that exposed? Was that exposed aggregate there? I don't remember, because before they did truncated domes, they used to do exposed aggregate.
Yes, it was, Peter. That you're absolutely right. A rougher sidewalk at those intersections. Yes, it was both either end of those, because you poured those back.
I put those in
05.
Yeah, I put those in originally, and I thought that there and the crosswalk were exposed aggregate.
Right, you're right.
Instead of, it was what they used prior to truncated domes.
Oh, interesting.
Your photograph should show, Ian. It should look,
Okay.
it should be like finished concrete, and then it should look like what they do is they wash the finish off of the top of the stones, and it creates a rougher surface.
I mean,
if that's
in that
the
whole,
case,
it would be nice to see the truncated domes there again, consistency in the downtown and for ADA compliance. I think there are bigger issues with that entrance anyway. It's alleviated a little bit in terms of the angle of the road, but it still has some big problems, especially as being a crosswalk. And Parmalee said they were going to put a stop sign in there a year and a half ago, and they haven't yet. And there should be a stop sign there because cars just breeze right down through the crosswalk. It's still a very dangerous area. It'd be nice to fix that, but that would require a joint effort on our part and Parmalee's. So
I could speak to Brian tomorrow about that, Ian, and the one off from North Street, Prince Lane, when it ends North Street stop sign.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should look at those to get them improved if we can. And there's also the smaller road between the two buildings too. It'd be nice to do something there.
Well, you notice they have the stop sign on the pavement in front of Walgreens, and then they painted over it, or they paved over it. So that stop sign's no longer there.
Great.
Not that anybody, well, I shouldn't say anybody, hardly anybody ever listened to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Well, while Eric is here, I was hoping he could give us an update on the status of the paving projects. I think they're all done, but he can clarify that.
Yeah, our paving is all done. All we got left to do is, we got a shoulder.
So lower hard scrabble is done too, and the lower notch?
Yep.
Wow.
Elm, Taylor, lower hard scrabble and lower notch are all done.
Great.
And Rocky Dale. Well, that's
Yep,
terrific.
the Rocky Dale patch is done and the patch up on Mountain Street is done.
Eric, were you happy with that Rocky Dale? It seemed to go from a dip now like a hump now. Are you completely happy with it? I think Randy's going to have him do it over again.
Well, I was just going to say, I'll be surprised if the state accepts it.
Yeah, it's not great.
I don't know. I drive over it every day. I didn't think it was that bad.
I wonder if it's intended to settle a little.
Eric, for the neighbors on Pine Street, we thank you for your paving a little bit out here to at least alleviate some of the bumps there.
You mean out in front of your house?
Well, no, just east of my house, not in front of my place.
How did that come about? I hadn't seen that listed in the scope of work.
The patches or the shims,
Yes.
Yeah.
basically we came in low at Elm and Taylor, and so not to spend any extra money, I had him do them shims and still be within the budget.
That's terrific.
Good idea.
He said he was going to probably
And we dug
drive
it up.
over a plow over by my place. It was that bad.
Mm.
There's only 13 people water dips on Pine Street alone. Pavement has been dug up, but we don't need to do anything with it. Got another one Wednesday, right, Eric?
Stop your whining. My road isn't even paved. Okay. Anything else with that?
That's all I have.
Okay. Approval of September 28 meeting minutes.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah,
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
I sent you my changes, Val. Hopefully you got them.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Hey, somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second? Somebody want a second?
I'll second it.
There we go.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Raise your hand, whatever. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Approval of January 20, 22nd, February 12, 2018. I can't remember what you sent us, Val. Was it
Just have the
20th?
22nd, just
Okay,
January.
122nd. I have not had a chance to read them, so.
Okay.
Has anybody else had any chance to read the January 20, 2018? Okay, can we put that off until next week and I'll get your next meeting?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Do we have any liquor licenses? No, I didn't see any. Okay, thanks, Jen. Accounts payable warrant. Tasha, did you get that from me? Okay, so Tasha's got the number.
I got a few questions for Jen, maybe.
I already asked mine.
EJ Prescott, you see that's the meter there, $1,191.
Yep.
And then Jennifer is Nesson Excavating for
Yes.
$1,150. It says hose replacement. Is that coded wrong? Hose, I think, be fire department.
No, because Brett said it was replacing the hose for a dry hydrant somewhere. We chatted about it. I don't
Oh,
really
okay.
understand it, but that's what he wanted.
Okay.
That's what he.
So it is the
Yeah.
fire department, Joel.
It is fire
Okay.
department. That's all
I just thought excavating and maybe,
Yeah.
and then the power plant of John Deere seat repair. Is that
No.
for the tractor or for the new John Deere grader? $757.
Eric's gonna chime in.
for the loader, Joel.
Okay, for the loader.
Yep.
Okay, and then I think that was, I had one more. And no, that was it. Oh, Green Mountain Engineering for 5,235. Tell me that's preliminary engineering work for Pine Street, Valerie.
Negative.
No, and that was for what?
Was that Stony Hill?
No.
Says water system, so
I think it might be. Isn't it the loan?
Oh, yeah, I guess it's the water planning loan.
Yeah, it's the water planning, the water
Oh,
line replacement preliminary engineering report.
okay. Okay.
So it is Pine Street, Joel.
Okay. Street don't,
Any other questions on the warrant?
street don't break up quite as much now that we don't have to have that company haul landfill cover anymore for Pine Street.
Okay. So you guys will stop by the town office and sign the warrant this week, right? Okay.
I did last time.
Yes, you did. I was impressed. You
Jen
haven't made it there
almost
before
fell over when
me.
I walked in.
It's true, I did.
Okay, select board roundtable. Jolie.
Oh, you probably, I don't know if you saw the emails between Jill and Valerie and myself this weekend that you probably saw with a brand new pavement on Pine Street. It wasn't a week old. It had to get dug up because of a major water line break. They were all until well into the evening Saturday to dig it. And now they have another one down the end, almost down on the corner of Pine and North, coming off from Pine Street. That'll make penetration number 15 or pavement marking. I emailed Valerie and said, well, thank God it hadn't been paved yet. All of these haven't. But I'd like the board, I'm going to like to see the board get serious, and I know you are, and have something for us between the town treasurer, Valerie, and Green Mountain Engineering for a cost estimate to replace the water line from North Street to Liberty Street on Pine Street in the spring, summer of 2021. And what, if we get the money from the state, that's great. Grand poobah. Thank you. If we don't, we bond for it and we do it. I've been on the board for 12 years and I've heard from Bill Bryant and then Teresa Kirby that we're going to do that street. That's the next one on our list. We're going to do that street. And when are we going to? And as you all know, if Eric hadn't done those patches, it's the worst street in town, and it still is. And if we'd have paved it 12 years ago, it'd probably be needing it by now again. So I'd like to, before we go into January 21, we have a bond numbers to know what our water rates will go up and what it's going to cost us to do that street. And that's got off my soapbox and doing, but I want to do something with Pine Street in the year 2021 and not just keep patching it.
Well, if you're doing Pine Street, you're not going to Liberty Street. You're going to the stupid town shed.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
I think
you're
the
not
town
doing that road,
shed
you're
is
not
fed-
stopping at Liberty.
Well, I think the town shed is fed by a 2-inch line. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, but the houses that are down through there are on a
They
different
come
line.
off from Liberty Street. All but
No.
I'm
well aware where they come off of.
you know where they come off. They cut over your old property line by 6 inches, but yes.
I know where they're supposed to have come off of.
Right.
But you've got the houses on the other side of the road too, down over the edge. Tom's old house.
And that comes from that fire hydrant.
From that, well, I don't know where. I just
Right
know
there.
there's
That
several
comes from the
lines down
corner of
there.
Liberty and Pine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
my soapbox, Valerie. I want to get serious with Pine Street and do it. Set a date, stamp it, be done with it.
It's easy said.
And we've been saying it, people, for 12 years.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's easy said. It's a little harder to get everybody to agree with that. Not just the board. I'm not just talking to board. But
Board's got to
Okay.
be the board's got to be the pusher.
Mhm.
We want this done, project done. That we have it estimated in proposal in place. They can go out to bid in early January, maybe, while they're hungry and want to work. You know, I don't know. That's a quarter of a mile, close to half a mile down through there.
876,000.
Here you go, Peeker. Is that your bid for the day?
Start saving your pennies, Joel.
We have as I ask people in the village, the water system, they say we have some of the best water in the state and some of the cheapest rates.
It's all fine and dandy until you talk to the people who are on the water, and they're saying, oh my God, look how much I'm paying for water.
Let's find out, Michelle. Let's at least find out. What's this going to cost us?
No, I'm not saying.
You remember with the report I gave you 2 weeks ago? We're selling 8 million gallons in 3 month periods, and we're pumping 24 million gallons. We are wasting 2/3 of our water into the ground. 2/3. If that was electricity, we'd go around shutting lights off like crazy. But we don't think nothing of it because we got a spring down there that won't give up. We'll just keep pumping it. It's time to get serious with this. Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
Okay. Speaker.
I'm good.
Ian?
After that rant, rave, he's good.
I have a few things. The fountain, did we get an answer on that? If that's going to be cleaned before wintertime?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. I'd like to have once the Main Street wraps up, the water department, VTUMS sprayed the sidewalks with a bunch of arrows for the water lines on Main Street, like in front of, I think it's Emerald Rose Gifts. There's a bunch of green or blue or whatever color they used, blue. So it's on the sidewalk. I'd like to have that cleaned off if possible. I'm not sure the best way of doing that. Val, I want to set up a quick meeting with you just to update the calendar and the current future completed goals that are on the website, just to go through those. And I've updated a couple that I know about, but there are some that I'm unaware of their current status, and maybe just set up a half-hour chat with you just so we can just get that updated and also see what needs to be brought back onto the agenda. And I'd like to tidy up the town webpage, just that announcement on the front page. It takes up the entire front page practically about being open, partial opening. I think we can just do that as a single page, and that would give a better space to be able to have voting information. I think people are really looking for that now. We have voting in Bristol up in the top left and on the side, but I think right in the front page, right in the middle might be good. And so I'd like to just clean that up. I think that the announcement can go just to a separate page. And then the last thing was, and I can email you, Val, about these two. It'd be nice to see, we're doing it with working with the Chamber of Commerce and the marketing for the money giveaway that Bristol Core is doing. Documents are shared. This was sort of sharing documents and getting feedback. It was a press release for this particular thing. They have Office 365 at the Chamber, and one of their employees uses it at home just on the website, and they used a thing called SharePoint, which I don't know is part of our package, but SharePoint allows you to just share documents where you can just access them on the web and make changes. And so one thing I thought about using this for would be comments on your minutes. If you had it all in one drive and you just shared it to us via SharePoint with a link, as opposed to like a PDF, we could just make suggestions right then and there, and then you could accept them. That might be a quicker way of doing that. It worked really well with doing this press release, and I was just curious, do we have that as part of the Town of Bristol Office 365 that we pay for, and how could we use that? You know, for minutes perhaps, or also for budget stuff. We have all those different documents going back and forth on all the Excel spreadsheets. It'd be nice to just have it where we're all accessing as a select board to an online version that maybe we just look at and can make changes or suggestions, but it's not separate documents that you're having to mail out and put up everywhere. So just, it's like an organizational kind of thing. Like, do we have SharePoint access, and how do we use that?
I'll have to look into that.
Sorry, that was a lot. Okay, that's me, thanks.
Carla?
I do not have anything this evening.
And I already did my rant about the sidewalk and paving, so I'm good. Okay, town administrators report.
I do not have anything to add.
Okay. So we need to go into executive session. Is there anything else before we do that?
Would the select board want Joe McLean to join the executive session?
Honestly, I didn't get a chance to read through what his comments were on that agreement, so.
Might be worthwhile to have him then walk us through it.
Sure. Is everybody good with that on the board?
Bruce, did you want to meet with the select board about anything?
He says, hell no, I want to go home and go to bed.
He's practically out of the frame anyway, so he's almost gone.
Although you almost got a text the other morning because I went by and there was a deer on the side of the road. And when I drove by, I thought, oh my God, I think it's still breathing, but I'm not stopping. But I was going to text you and say, can you go check? And if it's not dead, can you put it out of its misery? But I was doing 40 miles an hour. I was like, yeah, how can you tell? Okay.
Great.
I make a motion, we enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation and personnel matters per 1 VSA section 313. Somebody want a second?
Second.
Okay, Ian seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye, whatever. Okay, motion carried. We are in executive session.